West suburban trucking executive is dead tonight. He co-founded the company Trifecta Transport.
Man, I'm telling you, we're up here in Connecticut where it's cool. It's a little breezy out here, but it's still good. The sun is shining, everything's great, but it's unfortunate that I got to come to you guys with a tragic story today. Now, this situation happened about a year ago, but they just caught the guy and now he's in jail. Now, I know a lot of you say that money is the root of all evil, right? But in this industry, it's pretty much the lack of money and the lack of respect that is pretty much turning lethal out here. And I just came across this article from one of my followers. Thank you very much for giving me content. And that's what you guys should do. If y'all see anything of interest that I should look into, hit me up at lockoutmenpodcastguest@gmail.com.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
I just read about this co-founder of a black ops company in Illinois being gunned down in a targeted ambush. And while the cops are trying to figure out the motive and everything, anybody who's been in this industry and has worked for the black op companies, well, we know exactly what kind of pressure that some of you guys are up under. This what happened because, like I said, it's a tragic story. And it's one of those stories that I touched on years ago. I believe a gentleman by the name of, if I'm not mistaken, I think his name was Lombard or something like that. And he went on the same killing spree as this driver did that we about to talk about. Christian Davis, 47-year-old. He was the co-owner of a company called Trifecta Transport out of Lombard, Illinois. Unfortunately, he was unalived in what police called a calculated ambush. Now, of course, this didn't happen at his office. This happened at his home in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It was late November. Davis pulls up with another person. Someone is literally out there laying in wait to do the unthinkable. According to the criminal complaint, the gunman, who they identified as 23 years old, Kamari Harris, he was seen in a surveillance walking up to the driveway twice before the shooting even happened. When the co-owner Davis got out of his car, he was shot in the back and fatally wounded. Cameron, he pretty much takes off. And for a few months, it was a literal manhunt. They finally caught up with this young man this month in March. And now they got him sitting in jail on a $2 million bond facing first-degree intentional homicide. Now, the police is calling this a targeted event. This wasn't even a random robbery or a wrong place, wrong time situation. This was someone who pretty much had a specific reason to be standing in that man's driveway at that exact hour, waiting on this dude to come home. I looked at this story and kind of remember of a couple of stories that I talked about in the past. One about the young man that went on a shooting spree because these black op companies was messing with his money. I believe he was on his way to take out another owner of a black ops company, but the cops met up with him and caught him in the parking lot. At that time, he had nothing else to lose, so he just took himself out of the equation. Now, as far as the other driver that went and pretty much did the same thing several years back, he went and literally kidnapped the family and took them out, including the kids. So this is serious. This is serious. Playing with these guys' money is something that you don't want to do, but they do it often. They do it often. And sometimes they don't even think about the repercussions that they're putting on these drivers that make these drivers do the unthinkable because they don't have nothing else to lose. Messing with their money could be a wrong thing to do. And I look at this story and I don't honestly know the specific root cause for this guy to go and do the unthinkable. We don't even have a full motive yet. I'm going to tell you that I could probably guess that you do know the climate of the black op companies. And we do know that it is toxic as hell, specifically when you're looking at some of these companies out here, especially the ones out of the Chicagoland area. They're really pinning these drivers' backs to the wall, man. Let's talk about the pay and the pressure, man. You got these drivers out here grinding 14 hours a day, living in the cab, dealing with dispatchers who don't even know a steering wheel from a fifth wheel that's clear across the water, right? And then the paycheck comes, right? It's short or it's late, or it's got deductions that you never agreed on. And when you mess with a driver's money, you're messing with their survival. We're gonna talk about the disrespect, right? Because it's just not the money, it's the lack of basic respect. Some of these carriers out here treat their drivers like serial numbers, right? They talk down to them, they lie about their pay, they leave them hanging. They do a lot of things to these drivers that if you do it long enough to a driver who's already stressed and disappointed, you're pretty much creating a hostile environment for that driver. We're going to talk about the nothing to lose because a lot of these drivers, they're at the point of no return right now. This is the part that people don't want to talk about, right? When you strip a driver of his income, his dignity, you put him in a nothing to lose situation. And of course, a driver with nothing to lose is pretty much the most dangerous driver that you got there at your company now. I'm not saying that it justifies pulling the trigger. Nothing ever does in that front, but we really have to look at the environment that these drivers are really being put in. Now let's talk about what we see all the time with these black op companies, right? These fly-by-night pop-up companies, they burn through drivers, they don't pay their claims, they could shut down today and reopen tomorrow with another DOT. These drivers that rock out with these companies, those are the ones that's left holding the bag. Look, Christian Davis, he was a co-founder of a major company in Illinois. He had a family, he had a life. It is tragic, right? But again, it doesn't justify this man losing his life over a situation that probably could have been taken care of. But this industry really needs to wake up because you can't keep squeezing people until they pop and then act surprised when the situation turned violent. You just can't. We just need to start talking about this a little bit more so that we can better get an understanding of what's really happening out here, right? So drivers, this is what you guys need to do to protect yourself, right? Listen closely. You need to spot the red flags. If you're out here driving, you have to protect your CDL. You got to protect your sanity from these predatory black ops setups, man. You really do. First up, you need to look out for these chameleon carriers, right? You got to be suspicious of these companies with brand new authorities or weird strings of renovations and reinstatements. These chameleon carriers, they often shut down after a fraud or safety issue, and they could pretty much reopen up under a new carrier or MC number. You've seen them out there. You've seen them. Y'all got videos of them changing their door names and taking off their MC numbers right there in the parking lot. Drivers, you also got to look out for these predatory leasing agreements. That's just crazy. You got to avoid these contracts where the carrier holds all the cards. They hold total control over your ability to pay off the truck, They hold total control on your money, where you go, where the route is. If you end the pay period on the company and not having a profit, you're pretty much in a predatory leasing agreement. You also got to look out for vague pay and information. If the recruiter that you're talking to can't explicitly state your pay rate or when you will be paid, you got to walk away from that, right? You really do. Drivers, you got to do your due diligence when you looking at these type of companies that you want to get into. Always verify a company's US DOT number on the Safer website. You can check to see if they're a legit company or not. You can see how many drivers that driving for them. You can see how many times that they was in a crash or whatever the case. You can see if the company is legit or not. If you ever been shorted or anything like that, or you have a problem with these black op companies, you probably can report it to OOIDA on their website.